Live from New York, it's Gamers Health.
Oh
Kind of
yeah.
sounds, almost like Saturday Night Live. I am Rach Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR. With me, as always, on Saturday nights is my lovely wife, Rachel.
Hola.
So, um, Shadow was early.
All
Thank
right,
you, Shadow.
Shadow.
So, listen, before we delve into the topics we're going to touch upon, when it comes to gamers' health, all right, and the health of gamers, it also means not just mental health, it means physical health, it means spiritual health, it means emotional health, right? There's a lot of levels to this.
A holistic
It's a
approach.
holistic approach. So, to be, I guess, outwardly honest with everybody, I got doxxed yesterday.
Oh.
Now, I will name the person that doxed me because although it's kind of like Candyman, where you don't say Candyman three times in the mirror because then Candyman will appear. Um, uh, it was almost without doubt. The doubt's very small. Justin Lanasa of the newest TSR3, whatever the fuck you want to call him. So,
God only knows.
God only fucking knows. So now, um, what am I doing for the health of myself and Rach? Well, here I will be I will be very honest. I had we're almost at the 2 year mark where I came down with an upper respiratory infection at TotalCon.
Yeah, it's right around that time right now.
We're about the time, so at the 2 year mark,
Yeah.
with the upper respiratory infection, was turned into pneumonia and hospitalization for a couple of days, and was turned into congestive heart failure and hospitalization for 2 weeks. And May, I guess, of 2020. Um, I'll be honest with you. I'm a retired police officer. I stopped carrying my off-duty firearms. I have. Uh, oh, I hope I don't get demonetized for this, but I have a Glock.
Maybe don't.
I don't know. I will say I have a Glock 19 with the 15
Because
round
nobody has to know
magazine.
you. But...
No, I have my service firearm, and I also had an off-duty five-shot revolver. And
Yeah.
I used to carry my five-shot revolver everywhere before I had the illnesses. So here's the thing. Um, on occasions, I would over the last 2 years there were moments where I go, oh, all right, we're going into Manhattan. Time to carry the revolver. Okay. Um, yes, Shadow, you got a Glock 22 and 40. God bless you, man.
Good stuff.
I know that's what the ASPCA law enforcement used to carry in the late '90s before
Mm-hmm.
they got disbanded. But so now, again, I've been talking about there's been crime increases in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
We've had people get carjacked and hijacked and shot. Um, pretty fairly close to where we live.
Right.
I mean,
Um,
within a mile or two.
within a
And
mile, or actually a half mile.
yeah, and it kind of
Mm-hmm.
makes you think of like, and I was doing a lot of the woulda, coulda, shoulda deals. Because listen, when you get in the habit of doing anything, and whether that is carrying a firearm, whether that is eating healthy, whether that is being carb conscious, whatever your habit is, once you stop it, it becomes very comfortable not to continue with it. And I was kind of, let's tell you, I wasn't outwardly resistant. I was just willfully resistant. I was like, oh yeah, I should have, woulda, coulda. Well, today, shoulda, woulda, coulda became, you know what? You're right. I guess I'm carrying my what was my service weapon before my duty weapon, because again, not saying that necessarily this is a reaction to being doxxed, but being doxxed certainly focused me on Well, we live in New York City. I can certainly see from a lot of the articles that are going on,
Mm-hmm.
again, in our local area,
Yeah.
that violent crime is on the rise. And what's the best way to stop a
Yeah.
violent act against you is probably
Right.
force. You know,
Yeah. More people are having mental health crises. Which can be dangerous for self and others. So, not to say it's like boom, boom, boom.
No, I know.
But just to have that
There's
ability to protect.
and again, listen. I will freely admit I live in New York State. Within that confines, I live in New York City, and the ability to carry concealed is very much limited, and it is a privilege that I have, and it's a privilege that for the last 2 years I have not embraced because I'll be honest with you, without that pound and a half, 2 pounds in your waist, it's a lot easier to walk around. You don't feel, once you stop feeling that way, when you were used to it, and this goes to anything, all right? When you are used to working out every other day, right, and dealing with weights or dealing with walking or running, and you do it every other day, it's a routine. It doesn't feel different. When you stop, that's the new routine, right?
Well, yeah, and, it's hard to get back in.
Yeah. So
there's certain muscles and stuff that you have to develop to be more comfortable at doing it.
Yeah.
Exercising, I mean.
Whatever it is. So today I made a promise to Rach that, hey, I'll get back in. When I have doctor's appointments where they're going to weigh me, do I want the extra pound plus on my waist?
Oh, no. You don't have to bring that in the doctor.
But on a daily basis, when we do our daily stuff, including our walks,
they'd be having to give you 4 pounds because they usually give us 2 pounds for Lois.
Yeah, it's like, I'm tired.
They'll weigh you. We'll give you 2 pounds back. It's like, okay, but what about this? Just get another 2.
Mr. Solomon, here's the thing. When you are wearing that weight on your side, on your hip, and you're no longer used to it, it throws off your gait, it throws off your walk, and it I have sciatica. It throws off my sciatica. I know that my next week or so is going to be painful as I readjust to a gait, a walk that will take into account carrying a firearm concealed. That's just part of it. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I spent a couple of years in an admin position in law enforcement, and then when we had the Hurricane Sandy, was it?
Oh yeah.
When Hurricane Sandy hit, I was out on patrol out in Brooklyn, Coney Island, in the Rockaways, places that got hit with flooding on a daily basis. And I hadn't worn a gun belt except for twice a year at the range. And after that first day, you come back and it's a totally different gait. It's a totally different walk. You're in pain, and you're like, well, why are you in pain? You're just wearing a gun belt with a couple of pounds on it, right? But you're not used to the gait. You're not used to the walk. I'm not used to having, honestly, a sidearm anymore. That's just something that I would occasionally. Oh, we're going to Manhattan. Sure, I'll strap. But when you get doxxed, and your address and your phone number put out there, and I'm not saying that like 99.99% of the population are going to look at that and they're going to go, oh, that's the population to go, hey, geez, hold it. Let me notify Tenkar. Let me notify Eric and let him know that somebody is putting his address out there. There is a very small percentage of people like, oh, that fucking asshole. I'd like to give him a piece of my mind. I don't know what that will entail. And honestly, and I'll put this in perspective. When I was working in the late 90s and we were in an active unit in the South Bronx, shit like this, getting dead cats on your hood, getting death threats called into the precinct for your unit, knowing that there was a bounty out for anybody in your unit, that was par for the course, right? You kind of looked at Rach and I were not married at that point. We didn't know each other at that point. Okay, it's not what she signed up for. When that was going on, I was single, and the only person I was worrying about really was myself, right? When you have to worry about more than yourself, your perspective changes. Your mindset changes. If if it was just me, I would most likely go, fuck it. It's just a jackass, right? The world is full of jackasses. We all know that. Mm-hmm. Some people can't just help themselves from being a jackass. But when that jackass being a jackass can affect the people that you love, whether it's your wife, your kids, your parents, your siblings, then you go, all right, it's something you got to take into account. I will give my niece a lot of credit. When I retired, and this was, nearly 6 years ago, Shannon was 5. Mm-hmm. And she had our niece. She had the most insightful words of a 5-year-old that I could ever recall. Because she's like, Uncle, I understand that you're retiring. I'm like, yes, I am, Shannon. She goes, so what exactly does that mean? Well, it means that I'll no longer be going to work, and I will no longer be an active police officer. I'll be retired. And she took that and she went, oh, Uncle, so that means you're giving back your costume, your uniform, and you're giving back your shield for those, I guess, like on the West Coast, like your badge, right? But you're still a police officer. You're still going to protect the family, right? I'm like, of course. And you're still going to protect people, right? I went, yeah, of course. Okay. So for her, at the time, it was not about the job, it's about the responsibility. So I have a responsibility for myself and a responsibility for Rach and my family. And I know there are people out there like, why are you even talking about this? I talk about this because by not talking about it, you give it power. And I'll be honest with you.
Silence is violence.
Fuck you. I am not giving power to a cocksucker that docks me. Okay? They can go suck on their own. I am not going to give them the power or authority over me or my family. I'm not going to put ourselves in a position like, oh my God, we can't leave the house. Go fuck yourself. All right. So that's my
No, that never could be.
No, I know. But
without lives.
No. But I'm just saying, that's where that's where I am at right now. Okay. So again, Chad said I called he was talking about who we sold the most firearms to.
Oh.
When you change your motion, it can cause other injuries. Yes, and that is
and Mr. Solomon was talking about conditioning before. Like,
yes,
I know that I'm working on conditioning and strength training and functional strength training, like in my course, so that it makes a lot of areas in my life better, in terms of balance and things like that.
And again.
Whether it's in yoga, whether it's, just, in the street, or, as people get older, they tend to have more balance issues. And then also people with like visual impairments have balance issues. So it's all good, So yeah, I'm happy that I'm doing that. So good point there.
And here's the thing too, like I carried for close to 20 years, because I got it like a year in. My 38 off duty, I carried it when I was assigned to administrative duties for years. Why did I carry my 5-shot 38 like that? It's comfortable. You barely notice it. It isn't heavy. So I was until I got sick, until I had the pneumonia and then the congestive heart failure and all the other wonderful shit. That was my, didn't even think about it. Didn't affect me. Didn't I would have to make a conscious effort. It's like, oh shit, we're going to the Poconos. Let me make sure I don't have that on my belt because, I'm not licensed to carry in PA. But now I'm carrying the 9, the Glock, and that is significantly heavier with the extra ammunition, with the extra weapon. It takes an adjustment. So it's even an adjustment from the learned body skills that you get when you do like TRX, right? You work with TRX.
Yes.
You learn, your body gets certain motions down, and they become repetitious, and they become natural.
Yeah, it's because like when you use weight training, it's only one dimension, but with the TRX, like I guess because you're sort of balancing your body in a certain way, and you're engaging your abs and several muscle groups. That's why they call it functional strength training.
Right. So now Shadow has a question.
So it's many dimensional.
Would a shoulder rig help with that? The problem with the shoulder rig, and we thought actually, honestly, God, we had the discussion earlier today. The problem with the shoulder rig, the shoulder holster,
is a little kyphotic.
Well, it would probably work fine for that, but the concealability factor becomes another issue because now I need a button-down shirt that I'm not.
Or a sweatshirt or something.
A sweatshirt. I always have to have something covering up, and the access to the weapon is a little restricted. Now, do I have an ankle holster? Yes, I do. I've never liked an ankle holster. I have it.
It feels like it would be very far away from.
Well, because the problem
where you wanted it to be, unless you're me. I usually sit like Indian style. Even on stools, I sit Indian style. And be like, oh, you're ready to go?
The ankle holster is fine if you're doing active police work and you're going into a situation where you will need to remove your firearm and that you're in plain clothes and you reach down, you grab your firearm. That's fine. Or if you're an active cop and you're in uniform and it's your backup weapon, fine. But again, it throws off your gait. But the issue for me, retired, I'm only carrying for personal protection, is if I need my firearm, I'm not pulling it out to stop a crime. I'm pulling it out because I'm the victim of a crime. Having it at my foot, probably not a good deal.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have a nice week this week, or maybe it's not gonna rain. It's gonna be warm enough to, be able to walk in the park. And I know you've been wanting to, like there's certain places in the park that's like, well, I wouldn't go down those stairs if I wasn't
armed. So we go to a place called Forest Park.
So I'll be able to explore a little more.
It's a nice park.
It's beautiful,
but it's a little desolate in certain areas, and we've seen an increased police presence.
Yes.
I haven't stopped and talked with the currently active officers to find out why the increased police presence, but. For somebody who was a cop for 20 years, increased police presence usually means there's something going on. And it usually means you've increased the presence to
deter robberies on the paths
or assaults or sex crimes or whatever's going on.
Yeah, I mean there have been known to be sex crimes in that park, but not recently, more years ago.
So
maybe 3 years ago.
We stick to the pathway that is actually until COVID was an active roadway that they've now closed off. It goes from a section of the park, and you walk to one end to the other, and it's about a 45-minute round trip walk. It's beautiful. That to me is where I want to be. 45-minute walk with a dog, spot on. But when the weather gets better, I wouldn't mind exploring. They have some trails, goes down to a pond. You kind of. Your heart will actually work a little bit harder because you're walking up and down hills. I'm happy to do all of that, but I'm not sure how happy I am to do all that without the ability to protect my wife. Okay? Again, when it comes to protecting yourself, you're a little bit more lackadaisical. That's my opinion.
I think so. We prioritize ourselves often last.
It's like kind of like, it's just me. Yeah, whatever. you're not going to fuck with my wife. All right. You fuck with my wife, and now you haven't just made it real. You've literally pissed me off, which I'll be honest with you, this doxing, naming my wife and my parents, that really pissed me off. If you just named me, you know what, and gave my address and gave my phone number, and
or just like cut and paste it,
and a bunch of emails I haven't used in 25 years, I would have been like, all right, you know what, whatever, okay.
Nice. Yes, that's why texts are always like, please and thank you and my pleasure. You know?
my pleasure, because I'm armed and you're armed, and we're just
everything's good.
We're just a happier society for that. Listen, again, I'm retired NYPD, and people kind of go, NYPD, you must be anti-firearm. Oh, most cops I know, whether they are retired or they were active when I was active, are very much pro Second Amendment. Because I'll be honest with you, in 20 years, of all the guns that took off the street, I took one gun that was...
Only one of them was legal?
One was legal. And catch this, okay? The one legal gun that I took off the streets was a licensed security guard who was licensed to carry to and from work. The only problem is he stopped along his way home to buy marijuana, and we nailed him for buying marijuana, and therefore he was not licensed to carry at that time because he was buying that wasn't to and from work. So that's
really sad.
That's really sad. Honestly, other than that, I never dealt with anybody who carried a legal firearm. The firearms were removed off the street, were either stolen. Well, for the vast majority were stolen. A handful were straw buyers from down south, but that's just the nature of the game. So, if you carry a firearm legally, if you have a license, right? If you're in a state that requires, a 4-hour course before you can be licensed to carry.
I think that's great, the education piece.
Oh, yeah. And the education,
people can understand what they're getting into as this really right for me.
And the education how to secure your firearm when it's not on you. But beyond that,
well, and then also maybe, I don't know, being able to try what it feels like.
Oh, that too. Oh, certainly. You can't carry a firearm.
Because some people would try it and shake so hard that they would and have such a panic response that they would never want to touch it again and wouldn't think about owning it, And then other people are different.
I mean, I honestly, New York City is, I guess people would say, it's kind of on the level of like the state of New Jersey, which used to be called affectionately the People's Republic of New Jersey. It's very restrictive in the owning of firearms. Again, I am blessed. I'm a retired police officer. I have that privilege, and I didn't use that privilege for the most part for the last 2 years. So shame on me. Okay. But there's stuff moving on to the Supreme Court that might change. And if it does, God bless. Because I personally, not saying I'm an expert on the subject, I'm saying my personal feeling is when you allow law-abiding citizens to own a firearm, you will likely decrease the chance of felonious assaults, robberies, and murders happening. Overall, you are going to make people a bit more wary about, oh, that's a victim. Well, now that victim might fight back. Oh, wait a second. All right, well, because the victims are always the people that are easy targets, right? And I'm going to just go off topic on that, but listen, I'm a gamer, right? I'm a gamer. I'm a geek, right? That's the community I'm part of. So who's going to be an easy target to intimidate or dox, right? If you are a bully in this community, right?
Not even like you're in the community.
But I know.
I can't say that everybody
but
wholeheartedly accept this person.
If you are somebody who is used to bullying people,
he's sort of on the out group, to be honest.
If you are somebody that is used to bullying people to get your way, right? A gamer is an easy target. Your perception is, oh, fuck him, he's an easy target. What's he going to do? I'm not a fucking easy target, okay? When it comes to things like 9/11 that I had a cop with me that ran because we were down there at City Hall. I didn't run. My response to my sergeant after going, oh shit, what the fuck's happening? And oh my God, was she asked me, and she's like, she goes, hey, what are we going to do? And she's like, hey, we're Bronx cops, right? I'm like, oh, we're going to yell at people and hit them with batons, which we did on their ass and their legs to get them out of shock, to make them run. All right.
To jolt them.
To jolt them out of their shock. They were in mental shock because the building too was coming down. So I worked in the South Bronx. I worked in Harlem. I worked in internal affairs. Okay. I investigated people with firearms. Bullshit like this is just bullshit. But when you get my family involved, you turn it something personal, because this person here is more important to me than anything I could ever do and ever be. All right. That's part of the commitment that I made to my wife when I married her. And I did that because when I married her, I was like, this person is somebody who's going to make me more than I am. All right. That's a rarity when you find somebody that makes you greater just by their presence. So I'm certainly, but again, although I'm telling you right now, there's no way in fucking hell I'm going to be intimidated. No way in hell I'm gonna let anybody fucking harm my wife. So there's a little juxtaposition between those two standings, I guess. Somebody can go like, well, it's your wife. You should, maybe you should, do this. I married an Irish American woman. Okay, if women had balls, Rachel's would be big as fucking fists,
and they'd be brass.
They'd be brass balls. Okay, thank you, Rach. I wasn't going to go there. But so honestly,
so I could use them as a melee weapon.
Yeah, well, there you go. They're removable, so I can whack you over the head. But I married a woman who expects me to be me and be more me than I would ever be on my own. And I am grateful and in debt for that. And I can never ask for anything more than that. But I will be damned, if I would ever be intimidated from that. Shadow, where you live, you have to be careful. Ed being doxxed, I'd be wearing my plate carrier every day. You know what? I've got a vest. I've also got the plate carrier. I put that.
Yeah, and I have the backpack.
What's that? Oh, we have a bulletproof backpack. Yeah, bullet resistant. Bullet resistant, I should say. Sorry, let me just time this shit out. But the reality is, are you going to wear that on a daily basis?
It's heavy. I used to carry it.
It's backpack
to work. And that was really heavy.
We were having shootings in the city. They were out of control at that point, and I was a very protective husband because I couldn't be the person with my wife. And honestly, this is what it comes down to. Listen, most of what we do now, because we're both retired, we do it together if we're out of the house, right? She's out of the house. Guess what? I'm going to do what I can to protect her. So I'm not so concerned about. Again, I wore bullet-resistant carriers for years. That shit is heavy and you fucking sweat and stink. So, and that's in the winter time. Now, if there was a specific situation where I thought, it's high risk, would I? I have.
Yeah.
I have on my, even in my retirement, I have. There have been certain circumstances where I've gone, all right, this is a situation where just perhaps I'll put on my, but for daily purpose, no. I understand what you're saying, Shadow, but no. The ankle has to take a lot to get used to. The key is you got to wear one on each ankle. No, it's not happening, dude. I'm not wearing one on each ankle.
Shadow loves this ankle holster thing.
Yes, and Shadow, this is the part that does concern me, is that doxing is about encouraging complete strangers to do the dirty work of the fucking coward. You are right, and listen, I understand that, and I understand what cowards look like because I dealt with cowards as a cop. Okay, the people that put out contracts on us were not the people we were dealing with on the street. These are people you never saw. These are the people that.
Oh, you mean in the police work?
Yeah, in the
the
police
ambushes
work.
and shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, when the contracts were out on my unit and they were putting out a, kind of like the wanted dead, $5 grand, 10 grand for a cop of my unit. It wasn't being put out by any of the dealers on the street. They didn't want that fucking issue, right? It was being put out by somebody up the chain that you never saw because we were interfering with business. Now, what's happening in the larger issue here? I interfere with somebody's ability to scam. All right. Yeah.
Bottom line.
So so therefore you get that issue. I'm Shadow. I'm moving to Texas, ASA. We've listen. We've actually discussed some of that stuff. Here for us, here's the issue. Okay, it's a mental health, it's a physical health issue. New York City, as it is where we are near mass transit. Rach does not drive. And as you can probably tell from me talking about Rach and talking with Rach, she's a very headstrong woman, a very independent woman. And I'll be damned if I'm going to take away her independence. So she has that with our buses, with our trains. We're within 2 blocks from a bus and 4 blocks.
Knows? Texas might fix that one day.
They might, but they aren't there yet. But also,
or like a certain city in Texas might do.
Yeah, But also, in my case, I need a lot of medical coverage for
medical specialties.
I have a heart failure specialist and a cardiologist. I got 2 people that are cardiologists. One a bit more specialized than another. I have an endocrinologist and I have an orthopedist. So these are all. We looked at like housing in the Poconos, 100 miles from where we are.
Yeah.
And a lot of the specialties that we're looking at,
no, you can't find,
or at best
2 hours.
50 miles away. You're looking an hour and 15. So it's like, oh, jeez, and you're not going to find a heart failure specialist.
I mean, maybe in a major city,
right? So there you go. New York has crazy amounts of gun crime. What the heck? Why go after the legal owners instead of actual criminals?
Yeah, it's true.
Well, the thing is, here's the deal. They're not going after legal owners. They're just not preventing people to be legal owners, right? So that's kind of like, I know it's cut.
Right, you're kind of blocked.
Yeah.
So you kind of know, and you don't even go for applying for this. Yeah.
One of my attorneys, who I've dealt with frequently, and he deals with a lot of retired police officers. Really great guy. And we were talking about firearms because he carries, and he's one of the few that are licensed to do so. But he is limited to I think 2 firearms in New York City because that's all they can put on the front of his carry permit.
They won't list them down the back like they do with cops? Oh.
Yeah, so I mean, it's weird shit, right?
Yeah. And it's all like I don't know. It's been very corrupt in the past how people get gun license here. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. So Mr. Solomon says he's in Massachusetts. All depends on the local police chief. That is kind of how New York State works. Okay, but New York State is, I think, may issue state. But for the most part, everything beyond the 5 boroughs in New York City are pretty close to will issue. If you ask, you'll get it. Even Nassau and Suffolk County on Long Island, Westchester, Rockland, nearby counties for New York City, you'll get a permit with a lot less trouble than you get in New York City. The problem with New York State is, and the other state that this I know is Pennsylvania.
Mm.
So for New York State, you get a permit in Nassau County, right, bordering New York City. It's not good in New York City, the 5 boroughs of New York, without an endorsement from the commissioner of New York City. Same thing goes with Pennsylvania for Philadelphia. Philadelphia needs an endorsement from
And what's the criteria for this endorsement?
It's the same as if you were getting a carry permit for that city. So New York City, for the most part, doesn't give concealed carry permits. You can probably get a premise permit without too much difficulty. I say without too much difficulty, a couple of months wait, a couple $100 spent. But that's to and from your home to a targeting/shooting facility. It's a real pain in the ass for anybody who wants to do that.
Well, hopefully things will get better.
Shadow, I got news for you. Guess what state is open carry, and not many people know about it because not many people do it. Pennsylvania is open carry.
Oh.
Open carry in Pennsylvania, though, means you cannot carry in your car.
Oh, because just the very nature of it being your
because
car.
Being your car, it's considered concealed. But yes, you could be in town and walk into the local diner and go to the bank and do all your business in town with a 6-shooter on your hip or whatever. And you can do it. Pennsylvania is open carry. People don't know about it. And so I got to take. I had to take a quick sip of ginger beer. Diet ginger beer. This is the Bradford, Rach?
Bedford.
Yeah. Not bad. And listen, if you can't drink alcohol for one reason or another, ginger beer to me is a great replacement. It's got taste. It's got something else that just kind of makes you feel like, hey, I got that shock and awe of having a high alcohol drink without having any of the alcohol. So it's pretty good. Those backpacks were, this is right before I retired. There was a lot of shooting incidents in New York City. And it was a time when we were having a lot of cops being ambushed. And I was very much big on talking with my officers, my detectives, my cops, on how to be aware of their surroundings and protect themselves. And too many people, I like to think I am not one of them, but too many people forget their surroundings and forget to keep an eye on the people around them. And when you do that, you make yourself a target. So again, it's not necessarily the gamer's health that you thought you were signing up for, but this is all regarding your safety and your health. And we're this is just stuff that's relevant on some level. So and it's relevant to the situation that we are currently in. Helmets. Listen, Shadow. I was clearing out my the basement. I had a section of the basement that got flooded. I lost comic books from my old collection. I lost gaming books from my old collection. And then I saw on the top shelf in this one corner, I see an NYPD helmet. Now it's not my NYPD helmet. It's one that on 9/11, when we got back and our bus was still on the bus, and I was the last person getting off the bus, I was told, here, take your fucking helmet. I'm like, it's not my helmet. Take your fucking helmet. I'm like, all right, I'm taking my helmet. And I held on to it for 2 weeks in my locker. I told the desk officer, hey, let's leave a note that I found a helmet. Nobody claimed it, so I brought it home and put it on a shelf, and so it sits. I couldn't tell you for a good helmet. The NYPD helmets, by the way, were multi-use motorcycle helmets. As they had the the ride visor that came now, which is also good if you're riding your motorcycle, if you're a motorcycle cop or somebody on a scooter. But I couldn't tell you how good it really freaking was. Probably
He's like,
not.
no, that's a joke. He's like, good.
Dude.
But I was laughing from Trump.
Dude, having held a Desert Eagle when my lieutenant brought it in for gun inspection, let me just say, I don't think you can carry a Desert Eagle on your hip, your ankle, your shoulder.
This is that.
A Desert Eagle, it's technically
that World War II thing?
No, it's not a World War II thing, but it is technically. This is something that you would put a hole in an engine block, quite possibly with this one. This. You look at the Desert Eagle, it's like, and it's heavy as it is, and I'm sure to kick when you fire it, I'd have to brace myself. Texas is better than you think, but I know it's hard leaving doctors you trust in your home. For me, it would actually be a step up. Listen,
okay,
and I'll tell you right now.
Yeah, there's different parts of the country that really don't have the medical care like we have here.
We're spoiled. That being said, we go to North Texas RPG Con yearly. The only year we missed was 2020. We were there last year in 2021. North Texas is just outside of Dallas. It is an amazing convention, amazing community, amazing area. I would not mind, and I have friends in that general area too. Would I mind moving down there? Not at all. With the caveat that my parents are here in New York, my sister, my brother-in-law, my niece, my nephews are in Connecticut. It's a lot of family to leave behind. But it's probably someplace where, in that area, where we could find affordable housing.
Right, maybe for retirement, like later retirement.
Later retirement. We'll see. But
because housing is really nice over there.
Yeah.
And nothing is like old and broken down, like
like this house.
Because New York City is hundreds of years old.
Yeah, this house, like if you're looking at,
it's been crowded for that long. So
if you're looking at that cabinet behind us, and here I'll give you a little.
Oh right, and you can show the Dutch shelf and.
All right, so we got a Dutch shelf above us.
The tin roof.
We got a tin ceiling. This house was built in 1905. Let's see if I can get this. Yeah, bastard. All right, but this house was built in 1905, and I didn't think that would happen. Right? This house was built in 1905. There we go. It's a little bit better. And the thing with it is that it's a 1905 house. Is it worth a shit ton of money? Yeah, it's New York City. Yep. But the work is beautiful.
Yeah.
But you
like of an era gone by, yes. So like you try to preserve as much of that as possible in places like this. But try to have your modern amenities in the kitchen and bathroom.
Larry, West Virginia is also open carry. A lot of states have open carry, but people don't realize that. Now, usually open carry only applies to residents of that state. All right. So if you're in Pennsylvania, I'm not a resident. I visit a lot. Could I open carry? No. Were I to qualify, which I should, probably under HR 218, I can carry in all 50 states and all territories. Yeah.
What do you have to do?
Oh, I got to fire 50 rounds and place it in a target.
All 50?
All 50. Oh. No. That I have to fire 50 rounds and place a percentage in a target.
Just go for bullseye. No 20s, no 19.
No. It's not like darts, Rach. No, it's not like darts. Not quite. Basically, you do. It depends on the state. You qualify based upon either the state that you served in, which would be the New York State qualification for me, or the state that you live in, which would be the New York State qualification for me. But and then you're good for a year. So it's not hard. It's the same qualification I did as a cop.
Yeah.
You just got to pay for your own rounds. Arizona, Washington are just a few others. There's a large number of open carry states. Texas is an open carry state, but it's also very easy to get. I don't think you need a. I don't know if you need a license or permit to get concealed carry in Texas at this point. No kick compared to a 44 revolver. It has 5 recoil springs. Well, that's good to know, because I will say it is one hell of a sizable handgun. And I'm going to try to adjust this camera just one more time. One more time. There we go. Little bit more headroom. Not that we need a lot of headroom, but so we went off target for 45 minutes, right? Oh, God, I can do that. I'm actually ordained on the internet. But here's going to other topics that we thought we might touch upon. If you are, as I am, a type 2 diabetic, so it means you have to watch your carbs. Bud Light Next just released, I think, earlier this month. It is a 0 carb light beer. Now, when I say 0 carb, it's 0 carb, 80 calories. When I say light beer,
well, how does it taste?
It's somewhere between one of those malt liquor seltzers and a beer. Okay.
Yeah, I was sniffing it. I didn't pick up a malt liquor scent, and then when I had a sip, I didn't taste any malt liquor, but it was very, very light.
Yes.
And maybe with a little bit. I'm trying to give it a little something. Is a little bit of a citrusy hop in there?
It has a citrusy. Sure. It does have a citrusy hop. I don't believe there's any wheat involved in the brewing process. Okay. There is rice because it's Bud. You always have rice. But I don't. I bought a 12-pack. I've had 2 of them so far. I am not yet at that point where I will make a decision whether this is worth the 0 carbs for the
maybe by next week.
0 taste. Not quite saying 0 taste, but it gets close there. Bob, welcome. So that's, again, if you are a beer drinker, could it be an option? Yeah, it could be. Bud Light.
Somebody might like it.
Bud Light Next. Again, I don't know. I haven't gotten to the point yet where I can say thumbs up or thumbs down. But I will say this. If it's thumbs up, it's going to be kind of like on the angle. And if it's thumbs down, it's going to be on an angle. It isn't one of those, oh, wow, that was really good. And it's not one of those, holy shit, that was really bad.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Well, you'll try it, with like snacks or, the things that you would enjoy having a beer with generally.
Why is American beer like making love in a canoe? Bob, American light beers are certainly in that section, right? They're not the best. And a full-bodied beer, maybe I'll try it with our bartender Liam. I might try Coors Light Tap with a splash of Goose Island or a splash of the seasonal Sam Adams.
Oh, you've tried that.
I have. Only problem was the bartender I was trying it with didn't understand what a splash was.
Oh, so she put like half and half.
It barely, yeah. Oh, and it was shooting my blood sugar numbers to the fucking roof. But
I think there's just that much carbs in these beers because they're very heavy. Like Goose Island is a very heavy beer. Like people don't stay on that all night.
You can't. I tried a Total Con.
Okay.
Couldn't do it, man. It's like, oh shit, I'm getting fucked up. So yes, I know they're close to water, but listen, when you have, I could have a real beer, dare I say it, and get I could probably have a single real beer, or I could have 4 or 5 pints of Coors Light or bottles of Mick Ultra, and I have the same effect on my blood sugar. So you kind of have to balance that shit out. Now, if you don't have blood sugar issues, your other problem with the fuller bodied beers is often calories. All right. So you kind of have to balance the two. Where do I want to go with this? And it's not an easy balancing session to do. So, where's the Tower Games? Welcome. Good to see you, sir. So, now I've been doing all the fucking talking tonight, Rach. You got something you want to talk about? I know I'm putting you on the spot.
Let's see.
I would say you could fuck me, but I mean that might be later. I don't know. The joke.
I mean, I think it's a little late to go into like.
Never too late.
Grief and loss and the importance of community. We lost
definitely
someone in our pub community last week, and this week was all the rituals that people go through when they're grieving, and so we did the wakes and all of that stuff.
We didn't do the funeral mass because we did the wake. We went to the pub because it was the pub owner who passed, and we figured we'd have a drink or two. And
the family was out with us, and they, the Irish songs were on. Everybody was singing, the old songs and the new songs, and
suffice to say, it was a night that became at the midnight this morning, right? So. So we got home a little bit, somewhere between 2:30 and 3 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
So 9 a.m. mass was not happening.
Yeah, and so we spent a lot of time like with, the family in our pub community this week, just celebrating this person and just trying to support and comfort.
Yeah, and one of the things that really stuck out,
doing that for them also comforts us. So.
One of the things that stuck out to me was that John's wife, she we've seen her before. The person that passed, very very nice woman. She's in her 80s, and Rach was practicing beer pong. I haven't played that since college, so Bob says
this was before the week. It was another night before the week.
Oh, yeah, but it was part of this whole process.
Yeah.
And Mom wanted to play beer pong and wasn't going to leave the bar until she got her ping pong ball in a cup.
Yeah.
Because she wanted to be part of the process.
Yeah.
And that was...
She's like, this looks too fun not to be involved,
And it amazes me how strong this woman is now. I am not somebody who handles death well. I will be honest with you about that. Am I somebody who can defer handling death? Yes. Comes with the job. Came with being a cop for 20 years. You take those situations, those emotional situations, and you, if needed, take them, wrap them up, file them for later, and then 3 or 4 years later, it fucking hit you like a time bomb. But this woman, in the moment, was able to enjoy herself and be part of a larger group and just do the beer pong because it's something that, and I'm sure to her, it's like...
Well, I was feeling connected, and, I think being in the pub, like, I think she feels him in there, and that, she still, like, kind of, I don't know, feels his presence, whether you say that, or just being there reminds her of him and creates a good feeling for her.
Right.
Creates a comfort for her.
So these are, I really appreciated watching her because that strength is something that I personally lack. I have a different strength for dealing with that stuff, but her strength is a healthier strength.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me was spot on, eye opening. Bob, as a diabetic, I stick to Mick Ultra too. Rach sticks,
Mick Ultra,
or he goes, or very simply drink vodka.
Vodka's 4 points on Weight Watchers, and
how much is Tully? Whiskeys
4.
All right, so like I often will switch to, like today, I had I guess 2 pints of beer, Coors Light. Then I switched to Merlot because as a diabetic, I find red wine does a great job keeping my blood sugar in line. And then I closed it out with a Tully over ice. Tully Bordeaux, because Bob's mom passed Super Bowl Sunday. The funeral was Wednesday.
Oh,
We had to wait until family members could come in.
Sure.
And dare I say it? I mean, we don't plan these incidents, right? We can't plan. There's somebody's long term sick. You can kind of plan it. I mean,
we have somebody who's in the process now.
A good friend of mine, a retired detective, a member of our community at the pub, one of our bartenders. He's in home hospice. We know the idea isn't, oh my God, is John gonna pass? The idea is, yes, and he's beat the odds thus far, which is awesome. But I'm not getting emotional just talking about this.
Sure.
But you hate to see that with people you care about.
Yeah.
And you're connected to. And I mean, my mother has 2 very close cousins that are in basically assisted living, and
upper 80s.
Upper 80s.
Yeah.
And you just one, just like he's beaten the odds now for years.
Yeah, my God.
Oh my God, you just don't, and you just don't know. You just it's not easy, and anybody who tells you this shit gets easier, all due respect, they can go fuck themselves. It doesn't get easier.
Mm-mm.
It's not. I hate to say it too. It's not supposed to get easier. That's 86. By the way, Parkinson sucks. I'm sure about it. I mean, and I'm not going to be that guy that goes, oh well, 86 years, she lived a full life. You know what? Everybody who passes has lived a full life, because that's where you've gotten that point to where your life ended. It's a full life. But everybody wishes that the people in their lives had more time.
It's always too soon.
It's always too soon. Nobody ever says, oh, it was a good time.
We're never ready. That's it. As much as we try to brace ourselves, my mother was sick for a really long time.
Yes.
And you knew it was coming, but it was kind of sort of the idea of when, and then sort of bracing yourself and trying to prepare, but you can never prepare for this.
No, you can't.
You just can't.
There's no way I'm ready for it. You're not ready for this fucking shit. Bromos, when I was drinking, I enjoyed Golden Drac beers. Dude, that sounds fucking awesome. Where's the Tower Games? Grief and loss is important to discuss. I lost my daughter last July. It was important to deal with and discuss. God bless you. And you know what? I've seen that loss. My son's mother passed. Oh my God, how many years ago now? Right, 14.
Was it 2006 or 7?
2000. I want to say, yeah, I think you're right. I think it was 2006. So it's like 16, 13, 15 years ago, we'll say. And nobody wants to bury their child. And I saw what her mother went through. Her mother went through it at least 2 suicidal attempts that we know of. And my son, that's his grandmother, he stepped up at the age of 14. It was like, Grandma needs somebody who can take responsibility for her, and it's going to be me. I was like, holy crap. It's never an easy loss to lose a parent. Okay, But no parent should ever have to lose a child.
Not the normal process.
No, it's a horrible, horrible situation.
Sort of goes against nature.
Yes, Bob, you compartmentalize, and that's what I did as in law enforcement for decades. I'm not going to say years, but let's just say decades. It's what I did. That's just part of what you do. But it never is easy. And I mean, I still, as a rookie cop back in '97, I lost my training sergeant. He got killed. And I couldn't deal with it at the time because I was part of the 6-man honor guard because I was close to my training sergeant. And the family knew about me and wanted me as part of that contingent. I didn't deal with some of that grief until I was looking at my son's mother in her coffin. Because she, at the time, was civilian aide, police aide, in the police department. So there was a turnout from her command.
Sure.
And I was like, oh my God, I'm dealing with fucking shit that I haven't dealt with in well over, I guess at that point, 10 years. And you don't realize what you haven't dealt with until you start dealing with it, right? So, Shadow, all my family passed decades ago.
Oh.
It's just him and his wife and his son. And his wife has lupus, so it's always hanging over our heads. Oh my God, dude, I'm so sorry. As we've explained before, listen, Rachel's legally blind. She has other medical issues. I've got medical issues. I actually thought Rach could tell you what it's like to get the email that you time and then forget to untime. When I was having my through cents put in, I went, all right, I don't know if I'm going to get through this. And then it's like, all right, I got through it. Like, oh, wait, I forgot to unsend an email, didn't I? Oh, well, yeah. I am that very practical, romantic fucking asshole. Okay? So, yeah. Death is not easy, but you know what? It's harder on us that are living. A lot of times for those that pass, it's a release.
Yeah.
But for those of us that are living, it is much harder to deal with. Because it's not something we planned for, not something we wanted. It's not on our terms.
Yeah.
We have unfinished issues often with the deceased, right?
Always, I think.
And then it becomes like...
just at different depths or different layers,
So it's
but it's really important to be able to have, I think the community really is helping us, deal with this and, helping the family deal with this loss. And, like Shadow was saying, there's not much family, but being able to, have community is very important through, chronic conditions, through, like the palliative care, like that John's getting, all of that stuff. So,
So with the Tower Games, working in EMS, we learn to disassociate with the death.
Yes.
You mourn in your own way, but at the moment you do your job. And
yes. Social work is the same way, people come to you for therapy and, they're talking about very dear stuff, things that, often you can relate to, or, things that, are outside of, normal experience, severe trauma, and it's sort of like in a lot of ways, you distance yourself to be able to bear witness to what that person's describing.
Yeah. And a lot of stuff...
lend support.
I mean, In NYPD, we went to almost every bus / ambulance case. Um, we were put on the clock because a lot of times we would get there quicker, and that therefore stopped the clock. And the clock was the most important thing you could deal with in the late '90s. And I had a case where we arrived with my partner, who had been an EMT prior to being a cop, and we had a 6-year-old, undernourished, child looked to be about 3, maybe 4, who had OD'd on whatever cough medicine grandma, who didn't speak or read English, was giving. She was giving tablespoons instead of teaspoons, and more often than she was supposed to. The kid was in cardiac arrest. And we were going to take her in our patrol car. FD shows up because FD, fire department, shows up on all these cases as long as they had somebody that was EMT trained. And they insisted it was their job. I almost punched out a fireman. And then EMS showed up, and EMS was able to take the kid. We did an escort. The whole thing, if we had taken the kid our own, we probably would have saved a minute and a half, as opposed to escorting and shutting down intersections. Kid was pronounced dead, I don't know, 20 minutes after we got to the hospital. I don't know if we could have made a difference. It hurt. Well, at the time, you went on, you did your job. About 4 years later, I am a sergeant in Harlem, and we get an unconscious baby call on Christmas Day. And me and my driver, we get there first before the sector car responding, before EMS. Foster grandma brings the child down. It's a black child. It's purple, not breathing, not screaming, no noise. Grandma sees the gold shield and the stripes and literally throws the child from about 5 feet from me. I land on my shoulder. I grab it. Pukes all over me. And breathes and cries. At which point,
somehow it got the obstruction out of there.
At which point EMS comes. And they're like, all right, great. We'll take it from here. Sarge, great job.
Aww.
And it should be a joyous occasion. I was crying. I'm being a jackass right now, but I was crying for the life that I lost. As a cop, as an EMT, as a firefighter, yes, you put things to the side. Here I am. Damn close to 20 years later, it still affects me.
Yeah, still really fresh.
Because I never dealt with it, the loss at that time. It's a necessary skill to do your job. I don't regret it at all. When we had a family member pass, and I had one of the 2 cousins that's in
assisted
living right now. Carl, and I made the phone call. Carl, you're coming over tomorrow for Thanksgiving, right? Oh, I'm coming, but I don't. My wife isn't. What? No, she's dead. The fuck? I was like, all right, we're gonna drive out there and check this out. And sure enough, she was dead, had a heart attack, apparently while using the bathroom. And did I go into my mode of my emotions to the side for a woman that I knew my whole life?
Yeah.
And because my mother's cousin was like an uncle to me, she was like an aunt. And did I go and just verify with the vital signs and go, oh yeah, and tell my lovely wife and my father to stay downstairs when I was doing this because they didn't need to see it? Yes, you get into your professional mode. But as a retiree, I can still fall into that, but I don't need to be in that on a daily basis. And there's a little post-traumatic stress system that goes along with that. That PTS is real. And Rachel stay with me. I'll be watching TV as a cartoon,
Yeah, and
a
stuff will
commercial,
get kicked off.
a commercial. Be like,
Yeah.
oh my god! So I'm sorry, I'm clearing my nose out in the cast. But if I don't, I'll choke on phlegm.
Well, that wouldn't be good.
No, we don't want that. It's bad enough that Tenkar got all fucking teary-eyed in this shit. But, oh God, if when I was an active cop, I was like, oh man, I'm being a pussy. And now it's like, you know what? It really is why I am here.
Oh, thank you, Shadow.
Yes, thank you, Shadow. Bob, she lost her health and her mobility and her independence.
Yeah.
Anybody doing the basic tasks of life. She was angry and depressed and finally gave up and stopped eating and drinking.
Oh.
We are, again, our close family friend that we visit multiple times, once or twice a week, reach out multiple times a week, is going through a lot of that because he can't leave the house.
Yeah.
And he lived a full life with no regrets, and
he was in his 70s and laying people out in the pub. Like,
honest to God.
True badass.
early 70s.
He's my idol.
Somebody in another pub was talking shit to him, and they were in their 40s. And at the pool table, and John walked up to me and goes, "You better just shut your ass." And I was like, "Fuck you, you mother." Boom.
He offered him the first shot,
yeah,
and that's where he went wrong, because he was like, the birds,
and then some other guy, was talking shit. Guy, 30s, 40s, was talking shit, and John just kneed him in the balls and watched him fall to the ground.
Oh, that poor guy.
Yes. So this is the kind of man he was. That only happened a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is with life, right? Is that you live your life here, and then all of a sudden you're here. You're almost falling off the screen.
Yeah.
And very rarely is it a gradual decline.
Yeah.
A lot of times you somehow it's like being at the beach, right? We have like you walk out there on the sand and it's like nothing. It's like a 2-foot drop.
Yeah.
You're like, what the fuck just happened? It's a lot of that shit. Okay. I had my experience 2 years ago with that. With congestive heart failure. And I'm blessed to be in a position where I can address that and correct it as best I can. And hopefully live years, decades, and cause Rachel a lot of problems. I mean, and call people out for their shit. But, it isn't necessarily something that you have the ultimate control over. And as a police officer for 20 years, part of doing that job efficiently, successfully, was the idea of, I'm mortal. Nothing's going to happen to me. I can open up that door and there might be an armed perp behind it, but that's okay. I'm immortal. If you don't have that attitude, you don't do your job. Well, guess what? I'm no longer a cop. I'm a civilian. I'm no longer immortal. I am.
What's right as a young cop, what's it as a young cop doesn't work so well as an older civilian.
Bob, she decided she was going to go. That is,
I feel
likely,
that's so true.
They
decide.
That was your mother.
Yes.
That was likely our pub owner.
Yeah.
Because he was not somebody who was going to be told that, your heart's healthy enough that you could live for years, but not healthy enough that you could actually leave your house. He wasn't going to handle that. So he actually had a clean bill of health from his cardiologist.
Yeah.
Like a day before he had a stroke and died. Figure. I'm not in that situation. But I suspect when you are in that situation, the choice is kind of clear, right? Yeah, if you're at that point where it's like, I'm not getting any value out of this existence,
Mm-hmm.
and you can make that choice, and it happens, well, you know what? God bless you. It doesn't help us that are left behind, right? It makes us all feel hurt and like shit, and we mourn.
Yeah.
But that's part of the process of life, right? If we didn't mourn the death of others, would life have the value that it has? I don't know.
No. We would be just very unaware of everything.
With the Tower Games, the 90 seconds could have made a massive difference. I don't know. You know, and that's part of what I carry even to this day. We just don't know. And like I said, I worked with we were already planning out. I would drive, she'd be in the back seat using her training, and we were gonna. And if FD hadn't shown up, that's what would have happened. But FD showed up, and as every bureaucracy knows, there's always what trumps what. You know, it's like rock, scissors, paper. FD trumps PD on an ambulance case, but the ambulance trumps FD. But we got. I was like, you know, you can't win them all, and that one was rough.
Yeah.
We were allowed to give on-scene drugs like epinephrine and I can't even pronounce that right. I'm going to leave that to you because you are the closer to the medical expert.
Amiodarone.
Which are game changers in cardiac arrest in the field. God bless. Like I said, I still carry that kid. Yes, Larry. What a show tonight. You're all sharing some really touching stories. Great community at the tavern. You know, we don't record this. We do this live. And we do this live for many reasons.
This being
one of them, honestly, because you need to... listen, would I show my grief, my tears on a recording? Probably. I'm enough of I'm a man to admit to that shit. But I wouldn't have your feedback. I wouldn't be hearing your stories. I wouldn't
the realness of the relating.
Yeah,
would never be there.
This is sharing that you don't get. This is sharing that you might get late at night at your local pub in the corner where it's a bunch of guys sharing their war stories.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not going to get this elsewhere. And
it's very unique.
It is unique. I know. And it really.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, it takes a strong person. It takes a strong individual, somebody who is likely happy with who they are and themselves, to be able to show grief in public, right?
Yeah.
Show emotions. And not just the angry, macho emotions, but to show true emotions. Because the real emotions that affect us long term is not anger. It's not pleasure. It's grief, right? Grief is something you often carry because you don't deal with it. And
I mean, anger can affect you long term.
It can.
Some of the shit decisions that we make when we're angry.
Right. But usually anger...
But being able to tolerate the anger and, like let it be and,
But for most people, all right?
Get used to feeling it and moving on.
Right. Most people, anger burns hot, burns quick,
mm-hmm.
and then you're done. All right? And most people, pleasure burns hot, burns quick, and then you're done.
Mm-hmm.
But it's grief that takes the longest time to process.
Yes.
I mean, if you can process it in weeks, God bless you.
I don't know that many people are able to do that.
I don't think they can. Again, I'm
because the whole thing is that there's always going to be reminders. There's always going to be things that remind us of our lives. There's going to be people, places, things, situations that ring that bell. And, I think that's just part of being a human being, that, those bells go off, but then, like, what do we do with it?
Right.
Being able to, like, be able to care for yourself in a healthy way when those bells go off. Like the bell's going off and you're reminded of that thing. And it's like, do I raise this next pint and this next pint and this next pint, or I'm feeling this way. Maybe it's time to,
And I will say, and
go home or whatever.
Thank God for that. I never drank, even as a cop, for the idea of making some of this stuff go away.
Yeah.
I knew people that did.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I knew people that got there and they would mumble something about something and they would be deep in their fucking pints and keep on going. And I'm not saying that I didn't drink to excess at times, stupidly, because I was younger and stupid. Yeah. But I never drank to that point because I was trying to make things go away.
Right. You weren't drinking to like numb stuff out. You weren't drinking to get rid of anything. You were drinking to enhance or whatever. Like most of us, a lot of us drink to enhance certain experience, or I don't know.
You drink because it's sociable. You're drinking because everybody else is drinking. You're drinking for a lot of reasons. But honestly, for me, for whatever grief I still have to process, and I'm not, again, it's that child I lost back in 98, 99. It's my training sergeant. It's my son's mother. Because all that stuff gets bizarrely. When my son's mother was laid out, I saw my training sergeant's face on her face. And I went, wow, that's really fucked up. I mean, that's what my mind was superimposing on it, because I don't remember what Fitz looked like laid out, because I was the under guard. So we didn't have the opportunity to.
Oh, you didn't get to like fully pay your respects?
No, we were too busy doing all the proper motions for it. So
gotcha.
Wow, Rachel was just going, oh yeah, we got about maybe 30, 40 minutes of things to talk about, and then we'll be done. An hour and a half later, we're still here.
We do what's needed, man.
Honestly. So I mean, Shadow, thank you. Larry.
Best place on the internet. Go Shadow.
And Larry had some nice things to say too.
Oh, I couldn't see.
Tonight. Yeah. You were all sharing some really touching stories. Great community in the tavern. Yes. I mean, it's a great community because, listen, Rachel and I are our best stewards. Okay, we're maybe your host, right? It's what it is because of the live feedback that we get and the viewers that
you
comment.
Interact with us.
If you're watching this later on as a recording,
you stir some other memory,
this is
or whatever it is, whatever emotion or whatever story.
Your health, whether in a gaming community, if you're listening to this and you're the spouse of a gamer, that's how Rach got into gaming. You need to know that part of the issue, especially with gamers, and I know a few. I'm not going to obviously name any of them, but they're parts of this community, often feel alone and that they are isolated. And we do things like this to show you you're not alone, you're not isolated.
Come in here.
Nobody,
do you, be you.
Yeah. Nobody judges. Okay. I'm here and I was getting all verklempt and my eyes were tearing talking about stories. If I can do that, there's nothing that you have that's holding you back that you can't, if not share, at least deal with internally as you see other people dealing with their stuff.
Yeah.
That's what a community is about, right? It's not being alone. So, I mean, that's, to me, is where it's at, right? You're never alone. Any final thoughts, Rach?
I just thank everybody for sharing and, talking about some of their experiences, especially, as it got towards the grief and loss place. It can be really hard and really triggering. And, just thank you for giving that to us and giving that to yourselves and, being able to feel connected. And
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
these are our emotions and processes that we all go through.
Mhm.
But we all go through at different times, right? Because these things affect us at different times in our lives. So what you're going through right now might not be something that I'm going through, but I'm obviously dealing with shit that happened years ago,
Yeah.
right?
And like I said, it all rings bells from stuff we
So
didn't resolve. This is part of being a human, and yeah. So we do have a number. Say if anybody later or somebody who's watching this later feels, like they want to reach out, like they have something to say, they want us to call back, feel free to use that number.
347-509-5168. If you'd rather deal in a written format, tencars.tavern@gmail.com. tencars.tavern@gmail.com. Send an email. We read them all. We listen to all the voicemails. We're not going to share it unless you say, hey, share this.
Mm-hmm.
But we will get back to you. All right? Because if you want us to. Sometimes you just need to share and it's the experience of knowing somebody will listen. So we do what we can because this is our community. Oh, and of course, Ty comes in at the fucking end. Ty, listen, you're late, and this is long too for us.
Wow, he's like, oh, they're still going. Let me see what's up.
You could have seen Tenkar getting all verklempt, all emotional, all snotty, blowing my nose, and teary eyed. But you missed it, man. You missed it. I'm sorry. So, folks, as always,
but we're still happy to see you.
Oh, we're always happy to see Ty. It's his way. I know he shows up $1 late, a day short. Is that to say? No,
it's a day late and a dollar
short. Day late, $1 short. Or he's like an hour and a half late, and I don't know. I don't know if we're not collecting money, so it doesn't make a difference. We're still in the midst of the world of the pandemic, folks. All right, not telling you what to do. Rachel and I happen to be vaxxed. We happen to be boosted, and we happen to be people who got through COVID.
Yes.
So
COVID survivors.
We've done it all.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you what to do. Okay. I will strongly suggest that if you haven't gotten vaccinated and you haven't spoken to a medical professional about the vaccination, talk to a medical professional that knows your medical history, knows your comorbidities. Listen to them. Be guided by such. Ignore the talking heads on TV. They're all a bunch of fucks anyway. Other than that, oh, thank God I have. Yes, thank God. Otherwise, I'd be helpless. You know what? That is probably it. Oh, and yes, the evil DM, another COVID survivor. So listen, the best immunization obviously is surviving COVID, but you got to survive COVID first. Yeah. I'm glad I survived it at the tail end of COVID.
We're happy that we had Omicron and nothing. Not more uncomfortable or
not the initial
threatening
bag of shit that COVID was. So other than that, be safe, be well, God bless, roll your dice, roll them well, and
be kind to everybody, and be kind especially to yourself
or your spouse, because they'll kick your ass if you're not.
Damn straight, Skippy.
There you go. All right, folks. Thank you much. We'll catch you next week. I'll be back tomorrow with some bag of shit.